Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive with OA. My name is Omar Abedin, and I'm the project director here at the National Incubation Center, Karachi. Today, we have a very special guest who's flown in all the way from Hong Kong via 2 or 3 places. Welcome to the show, James Kwan.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you for having me. Pakistan has been wonderful so far. I'm having a great time at NIC Karachi.
Amazing. So, for those of you who don't know, this is James's first visit to Pakistan. He's a VC based out of Hong Kong. So if you want to know what's going on in the world of VC, you really should watch the rest of this video because I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. James,
yes.
Where do I start? Let's start with your personal journey.
Yeah.
Tell me about yourself.
I could tell you a little bit about my past. They all began, my entrepreneurial spark began when I finished my MBA. I was approached by a family, well-connected family in textiles. Said, James, can you launch my textile business in the US? I said, absolutely not. Why would I get an MBA and do textiles? And they convinced me. We have 5,000 stores in China. We're the #1 brand in Southeast Asia for home textiles. Here's a lump sum of money, do it. I went on that journey. I built up their US enterprise. And 3 years later, we IPO'd. So
Wow.
for us, for me,
how old were you at the time?
At that time, I was late 20s.
Damn.
Late 20s at that time. So,
Wow.
but it was a good journey.
I think anything that ends in an IPO is a good journey.
I mean, it was just interesting because IPOs were not as common then for these type of businesses, especially businesses that originated from China, Malaysia, Australia. We listed on the Singapore Exchange. But going through that process, I saw how businesses could be built. I had the opportunity to build a business with other people's money at that time in my life. I built something really meaningful, built a national sales team, built up the reputation, networked, and I just felt I could do this myself. And that's how the journey always begins. Something always sparks with people for them to actually get into this entrepreneur world.
And then?
And after that, I developed another company doing image recognition in New York. The financial crisis came along, and my family moved to Hong Kong. Moving to Hong Kong set stability for my family. I was back into the textile world, but was not satisfied. I had to build something. So building something, I have a company called Jumpstart. Jumpstart is an innovation as a service company. All things innovation. When I say all things, it truly is. It's education, both on the adult and youth level. So we run accelerators. We're launching our 5th accelerator next month. We focus on helping teams around the world build their business where we could develop them and invest in them with our stakeholders. We have our media company where we cover a lot of crypto, Web3, metaverse. We really like the new frontier businesses. We cover that a bit. We do youth education, so we're the only private company in Hong Kong with a grant from the government to help secondary school students. And I believe this. We gotta teach innovation earlier.
Yes.
We gotta have students and parents on board. So when you work in secondary schools, we need approval from principal, students, and parents. So they know what they're getting into. And these are gonna be the future innovators, the future leaders. Our natural progression is to launch a venture capital firm. So we're happy to announce that 2022, we launched our Soapbox Capital in Hong Kong as a limited partnerships fund, looking at businesses, primarily, I'll say geography first, South Asia, parts of Southeast Asia. But we really believe South Asia is where emerging action is for early stage companies. It's not when, it's now. And I'm here in Pakistan, so thank you for having me. And it's been interesting. And I see the energy. I could see how investors from around the world are going to be coming to this side of the world very soon.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. I'm so excited to hear you say this, James, because you know people who work in the ecosystem have been kind of beating the drums about Pakistan for the last few years. But it's only really in the last year and change that we've seen a sort of shift in focus towards Pakistan. We've seen some big names come in, like, well, the biggest names have recently written fairly decent-sized checks.
Yes.
First entry points for many of the big VC firms around the world. You've started Soapbox recently.
Yes.
And here you are.
Yes.
What are your intentions, sir?
My intentions is I'm a very generous person at heart. I'm not saying I'm generous with money, but I'm very generous with my time and my expertise. I'm here to explore the ecosystem and then write checks. I believe that checks written in South Asia will outperform any checks written anywhere in the world. And we firmly believe that. And
What he said.
And I hate to ring the bell, because by ringing the bell, I hope other VCs are not watching. And then they start researching. But as a company that really works in all ends of innovation, media side, research, we do white papers, we run events, we do government events. We are partners at 125 global events around the world, all across Europe, pre-COVID, 50 to 60 hotel nights a year. I spent outside of Hong Kong traveling across MENA, Europe, US, you name it, South America. We believe that we have a good perspective, more than most people, on where the ecosystem lies, where it will develop. We identified South Asia as the most promising investment geography on this world right now.
Amazing. We agree.
Yeah.
We concur.
Yes.
Okay, so let's come to Pakistan.
Yes.
So why Pakistan within South Asia? Because there are a lot of markets in Asia. There's, India. There's Bangladesh, which is also quite active nowadays.
Yeah.
There's Nepal, Vietnam, so many others. Why Pakistan?
I could give you some insight on where I'm from.
Yes.
I could say fifth largest country in the world, English-speaking population, high tech, and there's still very little VC cash coming into the country of Pakistan. So if you use your neighbors as examples, the India story, for example, they probably have more unicorns as a country than any other country in the world. They outperformed everyone last year. It was for those VCs who had the insight to go in 5 years earlier that made that happen today.
Yes.
Now, it's Pakistan's turn. I think it's Bangladesh's turn. I think those two represent the best markets in South Asia. If I had to place it, Pakistan 1, Bangladesh 2. I really see that as a 1-2 KO punch for VCs coming in. Again, I don't want you to come in yet. Come in 5 years, where my deals mature. I'm looking right into the camera. In 5 years, you come in. And then you give me my multiples.
Yeah. No, so I think that's a really good story, because I think the multiples that I'm seeing in Pakistan right now, the opportunity is, people in the US, they're so used to like 2.5 or 3x in 10 years. When you talk to them about a 10x multiple in 5 years, they look at you like you're insane. But many of those people have never been outside the US. Yeah. They've never actually invested outside the US. They have forgotten what the US was like in the 1900s when, growth came easy.
Yes.
They're stuck in an environment which is complacent, I guess is one word. Not growing the way that they would like it to be growing, but it's still growing.
Yeah.
And the reality is, what's the return on T-bills nowadays?
I don't want to say T-bills, but if you go inflation, you do an I-bond. Actually, that's probably one of the better investments in the world as well, too. So if you do an I-bond in the U.S. based on inflation, 7.5% right now. Right. Crazy.
So a lot of that venture money is actually just sitting in the bank.
7.5%. We're not talking about 7x%. We're talking about 7.5%, which is a minuscule.
So where venture becomes not so much.
Venture outperformed all asset classes in the last 3 years. That includes PE, equities, anything. Venture investment, and I'm talking to LPs because LPs should understand this as well, outperform every asset class. And I believe with the way the world is going on today, interest rates going up, equity markets unstable, crypto, blockchain, on the cusp of redirection, VC investments still will outperform any asset class right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so talk about some of the challenges you've had in setting up a fund in Southeast Asia.
Well, I set it up in East Asia, right? So
right.
Developing a fund, especially one that focuses on emerging markets or one that is not a long-term play where these guys have built $1 billion fund. I'm talking about building a small fund where I can allocate to early stage companies in South Asia. It's about finding the right domicile. It's finding about the right structure, creating the correct network. That's why I'm here with Omar today, right? Creating the correct network where we could get insights where other people don't have insights. We have a lot of people in East Asia, let's say Hong Kong, China, who would probably love to invest, don't know how to invest in that region. Yeah. It's too mysterious, it's too far. But if they have people like me as an evangelist of the space.
Yes.
And when Fund 1 does this miraculous return of investment, people similar to me in the same space will be putting South Asia on the map. And the ecosystem develops that way, right? Sometimes it just needs that little match to light that ecosystem to propel.
Yes. So you've been in Pakistan now for all of 48 hours, give or take?
Yeah, 48 hours.
What's your experience been so far?
Oh, yeah. I know I'm going to be returning to Pakistan many, many times. Food amazing, people great.
I can vouch for that. You really do like the food.
I do like the food. I mean, I'm a foodie. I always like to try new flavors. South Asian flavors and spices resonate with me, right? I'll be back, definitely. And I see the ecosystem really develop. So today I had an interesting time. We had a speed dating with a lot of teams from the community, right? And I see Karachi. I met the ecosystem. Some were early. Some probably still needed some guidance. They're pre-revenue. Some teams were on track. Some teams had tech that was really amazing. I think it just takes that a little bit of global thinking to put in. So more people like myself coming in, more people like you who understand the global market, as long as it could reach the right channels to develop the young community of innovators, that's all it needs. And I see this happening. And I want to be there at the forefront. I want to be there now, right?
Yeah.
Help these teams, help the community, lift the ecosystem, and also, getting some return on my Soapbox Capital venture.
Sure, absolutely.
It's all intertwined. It's all intermingled.
So, just in case you're wondering, we had quite an amazing event here today at
really
the NIC Karachi. It's called First Move, and it's basically connecting corporates with startups. So, speed dating for startups. And so I think you met 30 startups today?
Yeah.
Close to 30?
I met close to 30.
Yeah.
I met close to 30. I thought some were definitely in the right track. Some especially the ones that grew a customer base or grew revenue. I look for that a bit because I need some validation.
Yeah.
Startup founders have great visions, but having revenue shows me that you execute it. Having a growing customer base shows me you know how to navigate that.
Yes.
Some of the teams had investments already.
Yes.
And these teams, I need to see how they use that money in the first round, and will they use the money wisely in the second round. I just found different levels of teams, but very, very interesting.
So what is the thesis of Soapbox?
The thesis is, I kind of move away from certain things, right? to supersede the thesis, I put the geography up front, right? So emerging markets in South Asia, possibly with just one inclusion of Vietnam, which I identified as emerging market in Southeast Asia, that is worthwhile to take a look at. Then in terms of the verticals that we look at, we don't hold ourselves to it, but we do like blockchain-enabled technologies. We like teams going into decentralization, Web3, metaverse. We like fintech. We like prop tech, ed tech, things that could work in home countries in South Asia as well. And I know that when we talk metaverse, I didn't meet one team that was in the metaverse today, but I think it's around the corner.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of work going on, and you might actually meet some of those people tonight.
Great.
Yeah.
I met a team that was deeply into AR, VR, but with 5 minutes, I was like, there's another play. There's another play for you guys. It was great what they've done. I think integration of metaverse or Web3 into the Pakistani ecosystem would do it good.
Yes. Okay, excellent. So what does a founder have to do to get interest from Soapbox?
Yeah, so Soapbox, we're disciplined because we understand how to build businesses from our accelerators. Our accelerators, we typically help teams get commercial contracts as well as get investments. So what I look for in the accelerator are founders who have a good track record. If they're a brand new founder, I want to understand their motivation. Because with early stage investments, there's no fundamentals you could look at. It's not like going into a C or D round where PEs come in and they just go through the numbers. I could tell you this, PEs can't do what we do right now.
Yeah.
Understand early stage.
Yeah.
So with that very unique skill, I look for promising founders who know how to navigate and lead a company. I look for founders who know how to build a customer base, get revenue going. I get disappointed in teams when they say, I've been doing this for 2 years. I've been really trying to just make it perfect, but I didn't start revenue yet. I get frustrated when I hear that, right? That's not a way that you're gonna get fast track yourself for investments. I want to see that aggressiveness. I want to see that founder, when I first meet him, saying, hey, I did this for 6 months, and XYZ is my metrics, and they're all out of the park. That means they know what they're doing.
Yes.
They're passionate about it, and they could replicate. All it takes is a little bit of money, and you scale.
Yeah.
And that's my ideal founder.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
And how should people get in touch with you? What's a good channel?
Email. You could just get me at james@soapboxcapital.com. It's spelled pretty straightforward. I'm sure you could put it right here on the screen, right?
Don't worry. It'll get added in.
Yeah. So we're based in Hong Kong, but we're looking to allocate and invest into South Asia, particularly Pakistan.
So you've got about 15 founders coming in to meet you tomorrow as well. So you will have met about 50 founders just from Karachi.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Okay. So what message do you have for this young but hustling ecosystem that we're trying to build here?
Yeah, I mean, keep on hustling, right? So, what's the words of a famous movie that a lot of founders watch? Always be closing, right? Continue the journey, right?
Yeah.
Know what you're doing, and when you don't, surround yourself with people who do know what they're doing. I really believe that the journey cannot be walked alone. 2 founders, let's say, with no prior experience, should probably create a good advisory board for themselves.
Yes.
Get people in, and don't be shy by holding on to equity in lieu of not giving advice. But I do have advice. How do founders protect themselves advisory? I would say never give more than 1% to any advisor early stage. It could be 0.25% to 1%, but I don't like predatory advisors who actually try to take a lot of equity for advice, unless there's also value added on the back end, right? I mean, some advisors go, show me the pathway to 3% of your company. That's good, right?
Because what do I have to do to get there? Yeah.
But not not just for advice on a monthly basis. That won't be good enough.
Yeah, value addition.
Yeah, it has to be value added. And
Okay.
on some advisors, 1% is not enough of a taste, right?
Yes.
So they want to even contribute more. So, but there has to be a visual pathway to get 3% of a company, and that's a goal of some advisors.
Interesting. Very cool. So I guess the next question is, what's your timeline to start writing checks in Pakistan?
I think very soon. I think I'm going to start collecting, talking to the teams. I could see myself writing checks in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
No way.
Yeah.
So that's now. In
Now,
the,
that's why I think it's important for me to meet the right teams, put in the right direction. Now that this trip, for me, confirmed that this is the right path to go, I could see that we need to allocate sooner rather than later. I don't think it helps anyone to wait at this point.
Well, no, that's very exciting because, a lot of people come to Pakistan, they look around, and 6 months later, they're still looking around. And so you seem to have this propensity to move forward and act.
Yeah, I mean, our ticket sizes are not as large, but I believe that it's a very good start for many teams, right? Our ticket size is between 100 and 250. I think that doesn't go far in some places, but it'll certainly help a lot of startups here in Pakistan.
No, I mean, for many startups at the pre-seed level, that's a 6 months to a
Yeah.
year runway.
Yes.
It allows them to maybe develop a playbook.
Yes.
Maybe it allows them to move from MVP to final product.
Yes.
It allows them to hire a team and really start doing business development. So yeah, you're right.
And we segmented a certain portion of our fund for follow-on investments as well.
Nice.
And we also structured a way where should we find a deal that our LPs like as well, we create a SPV around it where our LPs could come in and top up. So though our mandate is to only invest 100 to 250, we hope our community of investors understand what we're doing, like what they see when we bring back the deals. And if we were to present something to them, they would follow in. And this is one way that we could get more cash into teams that say, okay, 100 is not enough, I'm here to raise 3 or 5. We would love the opportunity to take entire rounds.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So this is really good news for Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the people you're meeting are equally excited by the way you're approaching this market.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, a lot of people have shopped around. Not that many people have actually written checks.
Right.
Well, with the exception of our mutual friend.
Yeah. But I also see it as what we want to do is actually create a new, different way that investors could engage with startups here as well.
Yeah.
With our experience running boot camps and accelerators, which is highly reviewed and rated, I would say that we would love to give our portfolio companies a personalized one-on-one accelerator where they could meet our very highly network of mentors, really great mentors, and also give them an opportunity to get commercial contracts, to get further investments. For us, it's really about helping them in the journey, holding their hands. But sometimes it doesn't hurt. You're young, you're early, just to get a little hand holding until you get to that area where you run wild.
Yeah.
And it's good.
I like the imagery.
Yeah, you see it,
Yeah,
right?
you just took me on a visual journey right there. So.
Yeah. You hold, and it's like having a child old enough to move out and live on their own.
Hey, I don't want to think about that right now because I'm facing that exact reality right now, right? So my wife and I are going to become empty nesters soon. But I much prefer thinking of a child on a bike.
Okay.
Where you're holding the child.
When you're holding the bike and then you let go and you go, okay, that's a better analogy,
yeah,
right?
I think so. Because
Okay.
even if they fall, you're there to, pick them up and kiss their boo-boos and make them all better. So I'm very excited to see where this goes.
Yeah.
When are we going to see you back?
Once the ball gets rolling, I think it's going to be pretty frequently. because I think it has to be regular at this point, right? It's not a difficult journey for me to come to Pakistan. I do have to just make one stopover and I'm in, right? So I'm already in Asia, so that's some advantage where some people are like flying in from Europe or the US.
Yeah.
I'm probably with the connection potentially 6 hours to
Really?
come in from Hong Kong.
I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah, it's probably 6 or 7.
Okay.
By time the flight's
that's less
right.
time than from here to Europe, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, Hong Kong to New York is 16 hours.
Yeah, well, you're on the other side of the world. So.
Coming into Pakistan, I'll take anything under 10, right?
Yeah.
And I believe it could be done much quicker if you connect it correctly.
Or just bring your private plane. That'll be much fast. That'll be like 3.5 hours.
I'll have the private plane after I start investing into Pakistani startups. How about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I am so excited for what you're going to do here. I'm sure that every check you write, every team that you partner with is going to benefit tremendously, not only from the dollars themselves, but also from the mentoring, the advisory, the commercial contracts, all of that stuff. Because not a lot of VCs do that. Mostly it's, hey, here's a check. We'll see you next quarter for the quarterly review. But your approach is much more closely aligned with a venture studio or an accelerator plus than pure VC.
Yeah. I think we have to give value add, especially when we work with ecosystems that could benefit most from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so one other thing I have to tell you guys. James brought me a gift, which he hand carried all the way from Hong Kong.
To Bangkok, to Lahore, to Karachi.
And so this is something called mooncakes. If you haven't heard of them, please Google them. Normally when I get home, the family's like, hey, Dad, welcome home. They saw that I had mooncakes. They went nuts.
Yes.
They are an amazing delicacy. If you haven't tried one, you must try one. And thank you, James, for carrying that all the way. They were quite heavy. That box was quite big. The packaging was beautiful, but
Yes.
the cakes were like, oh my God.
That's great. I'm so happy.
Anyway.
Yes.
Any last thoughts?
No, my last thoughts would be great ecosystem. Pakistan really impressed me, and I'll be back.
And on those famous words from Arnold Schwarzenegger, but said in a much less intimidating way, James, I'm glad you had a good time in Pakistan. I'm sure that I'm looking forward to seeing you back again soon. And more than that, I think the ecosystem is looking forward to you starting, to open up the checkbook and get in there. So thank you again for being on Deep Dive. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys. See you soon.
Thank you for having me.